Welcome to the news in details. Now, let us begin this edition by informing you that the President Paul Kagame is in Germany, where he's joining other heads of state from various African countries for the G20 Compact with African Summit hosted by Germany Chancellor Angela Merkel. Now, the summit was first launched back in 2017 to promote private investment in Africa. Now, on Thursday, President Paul Kagame met with Sabine Dalomo, CEO of Siemens South Africa, Wena Hoye, president of the European Investment Bank, and Home Heller, chairperson of the Kenub Foundation. Now, the Rwandan head of state also met and held discussions with President Macky Sall of Senegal ahead of the start of the summit. Moving on, the Rwanda Development Board has noted that the fact that high-end tourists are visiting the country gives confidence that the tourism sector that was seriously hit by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic will recover, because even though such tourists are not many in number, they do spend far more money than average tourists.
10 high-end tourists arrive on a private jet, experts in environmental protection and tourism promotion. The group will be in the country for 3 days.
The purpose of this trip is to uplift tourism. We see this as the Olympic torch for African tourism, to really give people confidence that this is a destination they should be spending time on. It really matters coming to Africa. There's so many people and so much wildlife depending on travel. The next 3 days we're going to spend at Singita, at the Volcano National Park, and we're going to go and see the gorillas and the golden monkeys. We're going to talk to a lot of the people in the area and learn their stories and your history, and as much as we can associate with the culture during the COVID times. I know we're quite restricted, but that's what we would like to do.
Each of the 10 tourists paid $125,000 to make the trip, a needed boost for a sector that saw its revenue plummet from close to $498 million in 2019 to just $121 million last year, with 17% of that revenue coming from people who pay to go and visit the gorillas in the Volcanoes National Park. On average, a regular tourist in Rwanda spends between $3,500 and $12,500 before their trip is over, while during the high season, that figure can be as big as $16,500 depending on the length of the stay. High-end tourists are therefore very desirable.
High-end tourism is recovering much faster than any other in the sector. And this shows that we are still on the right track and that our promotion partnerships are yielding results. To protect the environment, we want to bring in a small number of tourists, but people that bring in the most revenue possible. That money is then injected into the country's economy and also used to improve the welfare of communities living around the park.
The group also visited Botswana, Kenya, and Zimbabwe before coming to Rwanda, an initiative that will continue during the dry seasons over the next 2 years. They participate in afforestation efforts, the distribution of solar energy among communities living around national parks, water distribution projects, and efforts to save endangered species.
Members of the Assembly of French-speaking parliaments dedicated to fighting HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria are urging countries to increase funding for the fight against these diseases so that the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't hinder what has been achieved. Now, this was said during a meeting of the Assembly held in Kigali this Thursday.
It's closing to 2 years now, with the world battling the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected all sectors and in particular has reduced the ability to fight other diseases. This is one of the issues being discussed by members of the Assembly of French-speaking parliaments dedicated to fighting HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria, calling for action to be taken.
Bon, la première chose, c'est de faire en sorte que des moyens suffisants soient attribués aux organismes en charge de cette riposte au VIH, la tuberculose et au palu.
What is required is to provide adequate funding to the TB and malaria authorities responsible for the fight against these diseases. In the last 15 years, we had been able to reduce tuberculosis by 50%, but now that the rate is going very slow, this worries us that in the next 20 years, this might go to vain. Yet we were on the right track to eradicate tuberculosis. We were close to finding the malaria vaccine, and we were aiming to eradicate AIDS by 2030. It is therefore necessary to increase the capacity to fight these epidemics. even though COVID-19 now consumes a lot of capacity for the health sector.
Malgré la Covid qui absorbe elle aussi une partie importante des budgets des autorités de santé publique.
According to the Rwanda Biomedical Center, RBC, measures for the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic came in addition to many of the usual measures to protect lives. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the efforts put into its fight, one might think that other diseases have been neglected. But that is not the case, especially with these three diseases: HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. The measures we were already implementing to prevent and care for the infected continued, whereby we ensured that our COVID-19 prevention measures did not interfere with all the three programs. Members of the Assembly here in Kigali will have the opportunity to exchange views on improving the health sector in French-speaking countries in general.
There are a lot of things we can teach those who come to attend this meeting, especially in these times as we battle the coronavirus pandemic, not forgetting that we can learn something from them as well.
The Rwanda Biomedical Center says that in addition to dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic and other diseases, Rwanda is now making efforts to build a sustainable health system so that the country will always have the capacity to deal with any future health problems in general. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Thank you, Innocent, for that report. Now, a report by the United Nations Development Programme shows that self-accountability has accelerated the development of livelihoods in Rwanda to such an extent that access to health services has risen by more than 100%. Mrs. Claire Nyirahabimana has come to a local clinic in Ruhuha sector, Bugesera district, for the third time for a prenatal care checkup. She plans to give birth at the same clinic. This service is usually offered at health centers. She says she is grateful for this opportunity. If not for the availability of this kind of service here, I would have gone to Ruhuha Health Center, which is a little far from here, which means I would have taken a bus. But now it's near and easy to access the services, and I don't spend much. I was told my pregnancy is fine, and I do have confidence in them. I'm happy that it is now much easier to access other health services as well, including birth control. A nurse at Gikunda Mvura Clinic, Eric Bigirimana, says the services provided to the community were needed.
We provide prenatal care checkup services, as well as maternal services and many other different services that require laboratory tests.
There are currently 21 health posts nationwide at this level. In 2022, more than 3 million people received health services at these health posts. In addition to setting up special services in some of the health posts, there is also a plan to put doctors in health centers to provide superior services to those provided by nurses. Leonidas Watamugira, who once ran the Rutari Health Center in Gicumbi district with 2 doctors at the time, says the presence of doctors is very helpful to the patients.
You'll find each district has one district hospital, and it's the only place with doctors. If only doctors were put in one health center in each sector and done in at least 4 or 5 sectors, people would have near access to health services. One of the reasons why women die while giving birth is the delay to get a doctor to help her deliver.
A report by the United Nations Development Programme released in August this year shows that the development in human health has doubled, rising from 0.248 to 0.543, an increase of 119%. The decentralization of health services has gone from 31% in 2003 to 83% in 2016. From 1990 to 2019, life expectancy increased by 35.6 years, as it went from 33.4 years in 1990 to 69 years. The head of Clinic and Public Health Services at Ministry of Health, Dr. Cornel Nihabose, says that bringing healthcare closer to the community has boosted life expectancy.
uko abantu bakoresha serivisi zo kwa muganga niko uburwayi bafite bugaragara hakiri kare bukavuga.
The more access people have to health services, the easier it gets to identify diseases at an early stage and treat it, hence the life expectancy extended. After the genocide, the most health cases were tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, malaria, as these were the top diseases killing people. But now someone with AIDS has hope of living longer enough to exceed the age of 68 because they take medications and can easily access doctors because the health centers are nearby. And hopefully in the future, these services will be available in health posts. Before, it used to be difficult for an HIV patient to get their medicine. Malaria remains in very few sectors, but we have reached a level a health counselor can test and treat malaria as they work close to communities.
Health expert Dr. Gwamasirabo Emil says that bringing healthcare closer to the people makes the country healthier with a more capable community.
It requires strong political will to establish accessibility of health services to everyone, because without good health, people can't be able to work, hence affecting the economy of the country. Lack of health services also results into chaos, as people could start becoming desperate, hence getting involved in acts that threaten the security of the country. Hence, health services are very essential in order for a nation to function properly.
A report by the Minister of Health also shows that mothers that die from childbirth have come from 1,071 to 203 out of 100,000. Medical births have increased from 27% to 93%. Children who die under the age of 5 have come from 196 to 45 per 1,000 children. The rate of vaccinated children aged 1 to 2 years has increased from 76% to 96%. The rate of women on birth control has risen from 13% to 64%. The number of hospitals has risen from 39 to 55. Health centers have increased from 252 to 510. The number of clinics or health posts has reached 1,160, while there were none in the year of 2000. The number of health counselors has risen from 12,000 to 58,567. A group of Rwandan artists released a song called Tuzatsinda, meaning we will win, in order to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. They urge people that are not vaccinated to get vaccinated as soon as possible, as it is one of the key elements to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this does include those going to watch the AfroBasket games. They shall also be tested beforehand. Umari Jade has more on this report.
The group of 13 artists performed a song urging everyone to keep up the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. The 13 artists were also vaccinated on Thursday against COVID-19. Protecting themselves against the virus helps them protect others as well. When one gets vaccinated, they are helping others, because if you have not been vaccinated, you are at risk of contracting the virus and infecting someone else. That is why they tell us that you are helping yourself, but you are also helping others.
The
singer, Andibu Munu, explains the reasoning behind the title of the song, Tuzasinda, meaning we shall win in the English language.
We came together to restore confidence, faith in the way we normally do in the arts. The song we called We Will Win reminds people that even though we miss living a normal life without corona, and we may have gotten used to this new life, we should still do everything to fight against the virus using the strategies given to us and being open to receiving the vaccine.
According to Dan Twagirimana, spectators of the AfroBasket games will need to present a vaccination form or be vaccinated at Petit Stade. They shall also be tested before entering the venue.
When one arrives on the site, we measure to grant them access to the venue. We have sections waiting for them to wait before they are tested. Tickets are checked for authenticity, and there is a place where people come to help them put the answers in the systems, and then leave here 10 minutes after getting the results.
There was excitement in the air as people arrived to watch the games. The most interesting and convenient part of the tickets is the inclusion cost of a COVID-19 test, as well as the ability to watch all the games for that day.
I am a Rwandan that loves their country. I bought a ticket to come and support our team and show my pride in being at the games.
After purchasing a ticket, one may get tested, and if found positive for COVID-19, you may return the ticket for a refund, and it is sold to another through the online purchasing. Umgari Jade, RTV News.
Let's hope people get vaccinated. Now, the governor of Rwanda's western provinces met with and given assurances to officials managing the construction of the Rusizi 3 hydroelectric power plant that Rwanda will play its part to ensure that the project is successfully complete. Now, the power plant will supply electricity to Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda once complete.
The project will be implemented by EGL, an energy distribution initiative part of the Economic Community of the Great Lakes countries, CEPEGER, and the management of the project has noted that it seeks to help transform the lives of communities in the region.
D'abord, sur le plan environnemental, toutes les populations qui seront affectées par le projet.
First of all, from an environmental perspective, any local residents that will lose their property will be compensated. Local communities in the area will also be provided with assistance during the construction of the dam in the form of employment, and those working on the project will include Burundian nationals, Rwandans, and the Congolese. They will also be provided with electricity, which will help with the setup of more industries in the Great Lakes region, helping to change the social economic aspect of life in this region and modernizing it.
Va changer la vie socio-économique de la sous-région.
Regular meetings of a joint committee on the management of the project will also be held in the three countries concerned with the project to ensure that it is implemented smoothly.
Et je vous informe que l'EGL, qui est le mandataire des États,
I can inform you that EGL represents all the countries involved in this project, and its General Assembly includes all the energy ministers from the countries jointly committed to the project, Burundi, the DRC, and Rwanda. We also have an oversight committee with members from all countries to ensure that no problems arise. In brief, there will be no disagreements. Meetings like this are also meant to encourage officials from each country to urge their people to embrace the project as their own. Once the populations accept it, we will be able to develop it accordingly.
Comme on dit, de développer et un jour de mettre en service la centrale Rusizi 3.
Rwandan officials have given their assurances that the project will get all the support it needs.
Twebwe icyo dusabwa ni ugufasha kugira ngo uyu mushinga ugende neza. Icyambere
We are being asked to support the project, and the first thing they need is security. They also need our help in urging local residents to accept it as their own. Also, transportation between the three countries must be facilitated. We will do anything required to ensure that the project is implemented smoothly. Local residents have been urged to utilize the opportunities the project will present and been reassured that they will be first properly compensated before anything is done on their land.
Turifuza ko abo baturage aribo bakoramo bagakuramo.
We want the local residents to find employment in the project so that it can help them to improve their lives and earn a living. The project itself will last for 5 years, and so that is time enough for a person to significantly change their lives with a secure job like that. Also, during the meeting, we reviewed every process and agreed that not a single bulldozer will be dispatched onto a person's land before they have been properly compensated.
Nta mashini izajya mu butaka bw'umuturage, nta mashini izajya mu mutungo w'umuturage atarahabwa ingurane kandi ikwiye.
The Rusizi 3 hydroelectric power plant project is scheduled to begin towards the end of next year and will cost $500 million to complete, providing 206 megawatts.